The previous basket is under review.
Welcome back to Stats by Will and Jim, a college basketball podcast that focuses on the numbers. We are proudly under the Basket Under Review umbrella. Please check out that website and Discord. We think it's the very best college basketball community going on the internet. Only $10 a month gets you access to all kinds of written content from some of the best writers in the sport, all of whom love college hoops. Plus, you get the access to Discord where you can talk ball at all times. Folks, that's the intro. I'm Jim Root, the host of Stats by Will and Jim, and I'm joined by the brains of the operation. Will, you're going to let me say it at some point. It's Will Warren. Will, how are we doing? Are we ready to, as we pull back the curtain for our listeners, round 2 of this Statistical Leaders podcast?
I'm very ready. I'm excited to say the same things I said 2 days ago.
Only you're going to say them better. You know it.
Yeah, but better. Yeah. The Al Del Greco reference will come back. Shout out to a long forgotten kicker. But no, we recorded this Tuesday or Wednesday. This has been a long ass week. One of those days on the calendar. And we had some technical difficulties. It happens. That's part of the fun of remote recording. But I'm excited for round 2 of this because I've actually changed 1 or 2 of my picks since we initially recorded. I know you have too. It's not quite like, not that I would have ever done this in my life, looking off of somebody else's sheet during a test, but a little bit of that did happen here. So I might have maybe stolen one of your picks. We'll see.
I love to hear that. It's like retroactively changing your mock draft, but no one knows that we did that. It's under wraps.
Yeah, it wouldn't be like a guy named Chad Ford ever did that. Or
no, a theoretical Tad Board, whoever that would be.
Yeah, Tad Boyle did that.
Yes. Will's being nice. My microphone came a little disconnected during the first episode, caused a wrong selection of microphone for the last 40 minutes, and my audio sounded like I was underwater with no mic. I don't know. It was really bad. Even I wanted to force us to use it, and I couldn't even make that case. But we're back for the people. We're making a second go at this. It is the Statistical Leaders Forecast podcast. We are trying to predict who will lead the country in 7 categories: points per game, rebounds per game, assists per game, steals and blocks per game, three-pointers made, and free throws attempted. Key distinction there. So we will get into our thinking behind all of those. But before we do, Will, we've got to get the stat of the day, the trivia question of the day. Now, on the first iteration of this episode, the question was, who is the highest scoring Will in all of college basketball, and how many points did he average? That was really hard. For those at home, it was Will Thomas of Morgan State. He averaged 14.1. The new trivia question, Will, is in the top 250 leading scorers in college basketball last year. How many of them had a Will Williams, really either of those two? It's pretty much all Williams in their name. That is the question I posed to you. How many of the top 250 had a Williams in their name?
Okay, so this is across all schools. Oh man, I got to think about how common of a name this is. I do believe that Will is a fairly common name. Will, William, Bill, Billy, whatever. We're not counting Bills or Billy or ever any of that stuff, correct?
No, because I can't control F those at the same time. So
okay, perfect. All right, I am going to wager. We'll go 16.
16. Whoa. Okay. The answer's 4.
Damn it. we gotta get our bread up.
I know, right? The Williams got to get it going. We've got Shelton Williams Dryden of West Georgia, averaged 17.6 a game. The leading scorer was over 20 a game, Bryce Williams of Nebraska. Yeah. Many will be familiar with that name. I'm counting this. Noah Williamson of Bucknell. That seems fair to include. He was just behind Shelton Williams Dryden. And then down at number 249, just sneaking in here, Marcus Williams of San Francisco. So that is your quartet of representation in the top 250.
Okay, it feels good to be represented. I got to be honest.
Yeah, exactly.
We had a lot of We had a really hard run there where it was, especially for Will Warrens of the world, our biggest was Willie Warren of Oklahoma. But now we've got New York Yankees starting pitcher, Will Warren,
That's
who
right.
I think is good.
Did you
He might
feel
not be
a
a
sense
top.
of kinship with Willie Warren as he was tearing up the college basketball landscape?
Yes. I remember my buddy Nick creating a fan page for Willie Warren back when you could do that on Facebook and sending it to me to be the admin. I think that's
Very good.
been long deleted.
Did you make some very important changes to the group as the admin? I'm sure there was a lot of activity level going on there.
No, I think you got like 12 likes.
Hey, that's 11 more than just you, so that's good.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, that is the stat of the day. A reminder, this is the Stat Leaders Pod. I mentioned the topic we're going through. Before we get to it, though, a quick shout out to Homefield, our sponsor here on the Stats by Will and Jim podcast. It is the best place to get your college sports apparel for the upcoming college hoop season or the currently active college football season. We've got all kinds of unique logos, especially retro ones. They even came out with t-shirts for the old Idaho Fightin' Taters logo. I mean, they've got it all over there. Just a bevy of amazingly comfortable types of gear, joggers, t-shirts, sweatshirts, jackets, whatever you're looking for. Get your gear at Homefield Apparel. And when you do, use promo code BURNER15. That's BURNER15 for 15% off your first order. We like saving money. We like sending people directly from this podcast to the sponsor. That lets them know it's working. So head over there to homefieldapparel.com. Get your college sports gear and use promo code BURNER15. All right, well, that sets us up. We are on to the categories. As mentioned, we have 7 that we will go through. We will each give an answer. We cannot answer with the same person. So I'm affording Will the honor of going first each time, which means I might have to scramble and come up with some arguments for why he's wrong or why my guy will be correct. And then we each maybe shouted out a couple other names that we want to cover our bases or sound smart later in the year when somebody sneaks onto the radar. And also just a mid-major name or two, because we love mid-majors and we don't just talk the big boys. So that's it, Will. That's the preamble. That's the setup. I now pass it to you to give us your projected leader in the country for points per game.
So when we originally did this, I am going to repeat myself a little bit here because I do really think this is a 50-50 guess at the top of 2 post players for teams that are, I think, going to spend most of the year, if not the entire year, inside the top 15 nationally. One of them seems to be in everybody's top 5. I think one of them was 12th in the 3-man weave poll. But the guy I'm going with here, I just feel like has a slightly higher ceiling scoring wise, is JT Toppin of Texas Tech. So final 15 games last year, averaged 22 and 11, was utterly dominant. Texas Tech, I think you've mentioned in a previous pod, simplified the offense a bit last year with the hire of Jeff Linder, and really, just found their spots, hammered those spots, and I think they may be able to do that exact same thing again this year. The interesting side effect here for Texas Tech is Darian Williams' departure. Now, I do think that Christian Anderson's going to suck up a few more shots this year. Obviously, Texas Tech reloaded in the portal and is a really strong roster. I think we're going to be talking about and seeing a lot of Texas Tech this season. But I ended up going with Toppin over Trey Kaufman-Renn of Purdue by a hair. I do think TKR is going to have to fight a hair more for shots, maybe not a ton. And Braden Smith just feeding him the ball nonstop is obviously going to be a nice cheat code for points. But I don't see the same sort of, because when we had Zach Edey out there, it was like an obvious physical, he's just overpowering, nobody's going to touch this. TKR doesn't quite have that same effect, and we haven't really seen him take a ton of jumpers in the way that Toppin has. Toppin has extended out to the 3-point line reasonably well. Nothing amazing shooting-wise, but it's good for a big man. So I think there's a path here where Toppin, and as a note for this category, last year's leader ended up around 23 points per game, Eric Dixon. If Toppin can just get to 23, and he averaged 22 for 15 games against the toughest part of their schedule, I don't think it's that outlandish of a pick.
Yeah, and his season averages are dragged down by that 4 minutes he got against Houston before getting ridiculously kicked out. I like.
Battled an injury at one point too, right?
Yes, yes, and I think that limited his effectiveness a little bit. But that final sample, as you mentioned down the stretch, that's really who he is, and I think who he's going to have to be for this team. I like the mirror image of these two. They're two of the best, like catch the ball on the roll, stop, and hit a little one-handed push shot floater. Both these guys are incredible at that shot, both Toppin and TKR. And with Toppin, you get that little added bonus of being one of the truly elite offensive rebounders. So even when stuff's not called for him, you're getting those putbacks, a couple of cheap buckets a game that just incrementally add up that scoring average. My answer here, I went perimeter. I went to the extended portion of the court, and I'm going with PJ Haggerty, who was right up there in the top 5 last year, playing for Memphis. He was third in the country at 21.7 points a game. Now he goes to Kansas State, where I think he should get the ball in his hands quite a bit. Maybe they try to let Nate Johnson be a facilitator some too, partially because they don't have a lot of other scorers, just some shooting with Bashir and Kostic on the wing, not a lot of front court scoring. I think this is going to be Haggerty's show. He can take as many shots as he wants. Tang can kind of get up and down. Or he can go back and forth, I guess, on what kind of pace he likes to play at. But Haggerty's best when he's getting up and down in transition, getting downhill, drawing contact. I think his overall versatile game is going to fit well with Tang and K-State, and they're just going to desperately need him to score a ton. So, Will, can you make a case for or against Mr. Haggerty as a potential national leader in scoring?
Totally reasonable pick, because when you look at the rest of the roster, I don't see many obvious plus P5 guys. We've had a member of the Discord make some very stout and strong arguments for one Abdi Bashir Jr. I would not join in that. Now, Nate Johnson from Akron, I could see scaling up reasonably well. MAC Player of the Year, did fairly well against upper end competition, has a style of play that I think will fit the Big 12 well. But for all intents and purposes, you don't pay a guy $4 million or whatever it was KSU paid Haggerty if you're not going to give him the wheel. And I wouldn't be shocked if he runs back 21.7 points per game again. He's going to have to play a lot. And we both think Kansas State is going to be in the bubble conversation, possibly on one side or the other the entire way. And they're kind of, barring something I'm just not seeing with this roster, kind of going to have to live and die with him the whole way.
Yes, and I'm not even predicting him to lead the country in scoring. That is not me saying they're going to live with him and make the NCAA tournament. I fear that front court, and I know we ranked them in the top 50 in our countdown that we did. I think we thought Tyreek Smith might get a waiver and the front court would add an extra body, and unfortunately it looks pretty bereft right now. But I do think Haggerty is going to have another big scoring year, akin to both of his first 2 seasons. All right, other names here, Will. I'll throw out Nick Martinelli from Northwestern. He averaged 23 a game in the games that Brooks Barnhizer was out, compared to 18 when Barnhizer was in. So perhaps he continues that kind of high usage production. Northwestern doesn't play very fast, so that's a bummer. And then I'm going to let you go real quick, and then I will make my pitch on my mid-major guy, and that's exactly where sound cut out last time. So we're going to see if we can get through that right around the 15-minute mark again. Any other names you want to throw out here?
2 P5s. I changed up my list a little bit this time. And these are real swings on, 1, do they play enough minutes? And 2, do they take enough shots? Josh Hubbard, Mississippi State, Graham Ike at Gonzaga. Hubbard, I think, is pretty obvious. That State offense runs through and around him. He's going to have the ball in his hands nonstop the whole way. But the interesting thing is he doesn't have as high of a usage rate as you would think. Last year's was just 25%. And I do kind of wonder if he's a little limited because he's a really bad defender. And Chris Jans doesn't accept bad defense for very long. He can be okay at times, but okay doesn't always work. But my thing is that he did get a lot better as a finisher last year. And the guy does just take a billion threes every year. He's an amazing free throw shooter, career 87%. If there's a year where he shoots 40%, and it's this year, I don't think it's outlandish. He gets 21, 22 a night. Ike, it's just a dominance pick. The guy is relentless inside. He's going to play the West Coast Conference schedule again. It's just about minutes. If he can stay on the court and if he can play 32, 33 a night consistently, I think he'd be in the conversation.
Yeah, he's unstoppable when he's out there. That little half left baby hook, and I love the WCC point. Like the competition matters a little bit for this too, and he is ridiculous against that league. Does he coexist well with Huff enough to play them together? I think that kind of works this year. Excited to see it. Would love to see EK get up there. All right, 15-minute mark. Here we go. My mid-major pick is Jamel Jones of New Mexico State. He was at Cal State Bakersfield last year, top 6 in the country in usage. A couple other those guys in the usage department transferred up to Power 5. Brandon Walker, Adam Bud Clark, Jordan Marsh. So it kind of clears the way for somebody in the mid-major vicinity to make a run. And Jones is one of the best mid-range shooters in the country. Just a true assassin. Had some monster scoring games for Bakersfield last year. Maybe if New Mexico State speeds it up a little more under Hooten and Jones gets a little bit more playing time, trends up from mid to high 20s to over 30 a game, I could see him tickling that 23 point a game mark that we talked about as sort of the magic number. So a little shout out to the mid-majors of the world.
My mid-major pick here, I do want to get him in really quick. Sam Fetterman. So I misspoke last
Sam
time.
Fetterman's going to lead the country in scoring?
Yeah, Sam Fetterman. Have you seen him shoot?
Yes,
I have.
He's a driller.
But yeah, he could be awesome. Amari Monroe from QPAC. Fetterman got a quote from a couple of coaches, and I did look, and it seems like this buzz is out there, that Mr. Monroe has real next level potential as an NFL tight end, has never actually played organized football to my knowledge. Perhaps he has, and I've just missed it. But 6'7", 220, and can leap like crazy. People are taking note. And we have seen the basketball to NFL transition a few times before. Mo Alley Cox is the one I always think of.
Yep.
But Monroe, final 12 games last year, I want to read you the stat line. 22.1 points per game, 11.3 rebounds per game, 53% from 2, 91% from the line for a big man.
Considering the amount of contact he draws,
friend.
Yes, that's pretty good.
So I'm keeping an eye on him. QPAC is going to run everything they can through him. I will go ahead and spoil. He would have been my number one pick for mid-major rebounds per game as well. He's just so good at sucking up boards. So I like him a lot. Very interested in Quinnipiac as a whole this year. The MAAC's got a bit of a flattening effect to where nobody really gets too far out or too far behind.
Yeah, there's no Rick Pitino Iona team kind of separating themselves anymore. So perhaps it's Quinnipiac's year. It was a major coup to bring him back and not end up with him on a Power 5 roster. So they are going to feed him over and over and potentially could have a huge, huge year. All right, let's go to rebounds per game, as you just alluded to, with Monroe potentially being one of the highest rebounding guys in all of mid-major basketball. Who did you pick as your potential rebounding leader in the entire country?
Damn it, I'm picking JT Toppin again.
Yes,
I can't get away from him. I just can't. So again, 22-11, final 15 games once he got healthy. He is one of the very best offensive rebounders at his size that I've seen in college basketball in a long, long time. Now, if you want to go with the argument that we can't and shouldn't pick the same guy twice in this episode, which I do think is fair. I mean, Zach Edey, there's no Zach Edey figure lurking over college hoops this year. Toppin kind of, I guess, comes closest. My other pick for this would have been Terrace Reed at UConn. So per 40 numbers last year, 19 points per game, 15 rebounds per game, 5.5 offensive rebounds per 40. If you scale that down to 30 minutes, and it is worth noting, which I didn't in our last recording, he did play 27 a game at Michigan. So it's not crazy to think he could get to 30 with better fouling restraint, maybe a little less grabby. I think they kind of had to last year because their guard and wing defense was just not up to snuff. Couldn't keep guys from getting to them. Now, once they got there, he and Sampson were pretty good at blocking shots, defending the rim, but that required a lot of physical contact. I think they're a little bit more well-rounded this year to where they won't have to foul as much and be quite as aggressive in rim protection. And if so, you scale those numbers up a bit, that's 11 rebounds per game. And also that's 4 offensive rebounds per game. If he can do both of those things, wildly valuable player. and would have a pretty darn good shot at leading the nation.
Yeah, I think the minutes are going to be there for him. We talked about him on the breakout episode. Eric Ribe not probably quite ready for a 15 to 20 minute workload at that level, which leaves all the center time for Terrace Reed. A little bit more like the Sonogo Klingen's freshman year when it was like 28 and 12 split rather than last year's 20 and 20. That'd be huge. My pick, and I know there's a reason why this might not work out, but I'm going to go with Yaxel Lendeborg of Michigan. He is a big time rebounder, was top 5 in rebounds per game last year at UAB. I understand he may lose some to Morez Johnson Jr. and Ade Mata, that big front court that Michigan has. But I think Dusty May is going to kind of let him go, unleash him on the offensive glass. I think he's going to lead that team in minutes because he's their most important player with his front court playmaking. He fits with both centers. I think he'll be out there as much as possible. And just the overall production on the glass and Michigan potential pace getting up there with Cadeau running the show. I think he likes to play in transition. That all sets up for him to be right back up there in the mix nationally as one of the top rebounders. I do think I'd go with a mid-major guy as my true choice, but we're kind of leaning high major initially. Did you want to talk about anybody else besides Amari Monroe in the mid-major world?
My man Delrico Gillespie, could be Delrico, I didn't really check. So when we initially recorded this, I kind of thought it might be a fouling issue holding this kid back for minutes, but it's not. He only had 3.2 fouls per 40 last year. This is my pick because so he led the MAC in rebounds per game. And would you like to guess how many minutes per game he played?
I got this wrong last time. I think I guessed 25. I'm going to guess 25 again.
22.7. And he led the MAC in rebounds. So 8.1 rebounds per game in just 22 minutes. This is a guy who per 40 is at 14.2. And to his credit, has consistently gotten way better at not fouling year over year. 7.5 per 40 freshman year at a 3.2 last year. That's a really good improvement. I think that they're going to be leaning on him a lot more this year. Kent State does return a solid amount of talent and will be in that MAC conversation once again. But this is sort of following the standard Rob Senderoff, like guys who stay, get better over 4 years and like kind of progress up to the, like they crest the wave, as they say.
Yep.
And I could definitely see him having that breakout season where you look up and it's like February, and like, who is this guy from Kent State who's got 11.8 rebounds per game? Yeah. And then we're all like, we got to get this guy in the tournament.
Kent State is consistently in a league, the MAC, which tilts offense. They're like the physical team. They're the ones that like, we're going to own the paint. You guys can bomb away from 3. We're going to zig while you zag. And he's a big part of that. Like that leading the conference in rebounding in 23 minutes a game is just completely absurd. My mid-major pick is Gavin Walsh of Binghamton. Just the best defensive rebounder you're going to find, top 3-ish in rate nationally on that end. Not quite as productive on the offensive glass. It's not as huge in Binghamton's system. So if he starts working in that department a little more, he's going to be an animal in this department. Towards the end of the season, he just went on a tear. His last, I think, 12 games of rebounds, 9, 14, 6, 8, 13, 16, 14, 8, 23. He had a 23 rebound game, 16, 13, 15. So if he keeps up that production, the way he was just gobbling up the boards, I could see him climbing all the way up. And hey, give me a couple more 20 rebound games. Those are always fun when they pop up in the box score. So Binghamton getting a shout here on our episode.
I like it. I'm into a little. So they're America East, correct? I don't want to misspeak.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, I can never keep up anymore. I do feel old.
Hey, we are old. We admit it. There's probably many younger listeners. We are unk.
I am literally an unk now. So
same. Hey, we are both literal and figurative unks. Look at us go. Okay, let's go to assists per game, where there may or may not be an obvious pick that Will is hopefully going to go with. Who did you say to lead the country in assists per game?
I mean, it's obviously Braden Smith. I would be, I guess, not floored if somebody else led, because there's always the chance of a mid-major popping up, or there's a couple other candidates out there that like If their offenses are better than I expect, then maybe they can get up there. But I just feel like when you're the guy who runs what I think we're going to agree is got the best shot at the best offense in America. They may not finish number one, but I think that night one they've got the highest floor. It just feels so obvious to me. I think that you get all those, dump offs to TKR, or you get a friendly home scorekeeper.
Yes.
I think we can all admit that by now. But like, if I came to you on March 27th, spitballing a date here, and we were like, Braden Smith over under 9.5 assists per game, what side would you lean on?
I think I'd go vaguely under. It's a high number, and he hasn't quite hit it. But
that is high.
Yeah, there's other considerations here for sure. Would you go over or under that, Will?
I might have to go over. I think it's plausible. So, and we'll get to it in a bit about the subplot for Braden Smith, where he can break the career assist record, all that. But I just remain really intrigued by like the upside there. There have been years in the past where it really hasn't taken much to lead the country in assists. So last 6 seasons in order, Ryan Nembhard 9.8, Tyler Kolek 7.7, Yuri Collins 10.1, Yuri Collins 7.8, Jalen Moore 8.4, Cameron Langley, who I don't remember at all, 8.0. So 4 of those 6 years, it only took you 8.4 or more. So I think I would still set that 9.5 number for him, though.
Man, I can't believe Kolek led it with 7.7. That's a low year for everybody.
Yeah. Rough year for passing.
Yes.
Rough year for reading, too, per Big East Twitter.
Hey now. Yeah, no, Braden Smith.
Parody.
Yes. Parody or parody?
P-A-O-D-Y, parody.
Exactly. Just ask Tyler Kolek to spell it. We'll be fine. The assist thing with Braden Smith is tricky. As you mentioned, he's got a chance to lead the entire country and set the all-time career record in assists. And I think that is going to influence the home score. And it could even influence away scores, just the fun that it would be to have the all-time leading assist man in college and the pitch on the sport. I wonder if there's a chance that having a better backup and more competent point guard could bring his numbers down a tad. Omer Meyer, the Israeli import coming in, who made some big impressions at FIBA stuff this offseason, that could allow them to maybe have Braden Smith be more well-rested by the end of the season. But I mean, his last game of the year was perhaps his masterpiece against Houston's trapping defense. He just completely shredded it. One of the best point guard performances we've both seen. And he did not seem at all worn down. So I'm not really worried about his conditioning. It's just, does maybe Meyer take some of the reps, because it's nice to groom your next starting point guard, we'll say. My pick here, it was tough. I had a real difficult time with this because I can concede that Braden Smith was likely the right answer. Mo Odom of Arizona State, the only guy in the country with a hair higher assist rate than Braden Smith last year. He was at Pepperdine, a big-time ball screen operator. He put up huge numbers in the WCC tournament. Now he heads to Arizona State under Bobby Hurley, who is the all-time assist leader in career numbers, just ahead of Braden Smith, or what the record that Braden Smith is chasing. But Odom is fast. I think there's a chance Bobby Hurley is very aware of his hot seat status and just kind of lets the boys play, let them run up and down, have a super high tempo, and with a point guard who knows how to set people up, there's a chance he's the one that keeps Braden Smith off the pedestal.
So we talked about this subplot in the first recording. So you're aware of Bobby Hurley, career assist leader, all that. There is a chance that he loses his career assist record and gets fired in the same season.
It could be in the same day, the same week. It would be.
It actually could be.
Yes.
The world's worst 48 hours.
Yes, and even the chance that his brother wins another national title and just continues to, put him into the ground, unfortunately. But he'll land on his feet. Maybe he'll be coaching Buffalo again or something coming next year. Get back up to his Northeastern roots. I would say it'd be surprising if he was the Arizona State coach next year. I would be a little bit surprised if that ended up the outcome. Really tough to find a mid-major name here, I got to say. One other name I want to shout out that P5 level is LeBaron Filan. Is just with the pace Alabama plays at. He's the guy at point guard. I think he could rack up numbers there. In the mid-major world, Mateo Esmeraldo was my submission, Will. And I say it a little half-heartedly. I don't think he's actually going to challenge for the title, but he averaged 7 assists per game at the Division II level for Trevecca Nazarene. He is following his coach from there to Lipscomb. So he's familiar with the system, maybe a little bit better weaponry around him at the Division I level. Maybe they tick up in pace just a little bit. It is the ASUN, an offense tilted conference. So perhaps he gets up and flirts with that 8 per game number that we discussed. But I can't make the case that he's topping Braden Smith or Mo Odom. I can't get there.
Yeah, the only P5 guys I looked at elsewhere here, Jeremy Fears Jr. at Michigan State, I think is of interest. Very good passer. I just don't really think that offense is going to be very good, and I think that kind of limits how high the assist numbers can get. Elliot Cadeau at Michigan as well.
Really friendly home stat guys. Michigan State will give you assists.
Yes. Elliot Cadeau, Michigan as well. That's going to be not like the world's greatest offense, but he is a very good passer, even if I don't totally believe in him as a shooter. The G5, other 26 guys that I'm looking at here, I agree it was really hard to find one. So I kind of went for like an upside pick here. Sean Newman Jr. at San Diego State. There's no guarantee he actually starts, and he's not a very good defender. But the problem is the San Diego State offense can really get bogged down if they don't have somebody out there to help them move the ball. They've always been best when they've had a really powerful pick and roll runner, Malachi Flynn kind of being the star for that. For all his flaws on the defensive end, Newman is a fantastic passer, really generates good playmaking skills and offense on the whole. If Dutcher can get past the potential defensive decline there, that would really open things up offensively and allow him to rack up assists left and right. It's one of those with a very low floor pick. Like he could end up at like 2.1 assists per game.
Yes.
The very high upside if he starts and plays like 30 minutes.
Yep. And he knows how to play with a lob threat. It was with Daniel Bacho at Louisiana Tech, and now he's got Magoon Gloth. Big time dunker there. All right, Will, I'm going to make a quick headline here. Going to grab a soundbite. You mentioned Jeremy Fears and Elliot Cadeau, rivals in the mitten. Michigan State. Which one would you rather have?
This is like
in a vacuum starting a team. Let's put it that way.
Fears is probably the better all-around player.
I think so too.
I would say
neither one's a shooter.
Cadeau has always been like the potential guy, though. I do feel like we're kind of in year 3 and we're all still like year 1 mindset with Cadeau of like, oh, it's so much potential. He could break out. Let's see it. Yeah.
Now,
that being said, Dusty could be the guy that actually makes it happen.
Yep. And he's got a lot of passing options. The front court there is way better than the front court he just played with at North Carolina. So perhaps that's the one that unlocks it for him. I'll say Fears as well. Just better defender. I trust him a little more on that end. Okay. We move to our next category, steals per game. Another tricky category. Some guys moving schools, moving levels that were some of the best steal rate guys in the country last year. Who did you land on, Will, as your national leader in steals?
I had a couple of Big 12 guys for this, and I ended up just going with the one that I know is going to get more minutes. Taman Lipsey of Iowa State, consistently really high steal rate throughout college. One of the, if I'm remembering correctly, 15 highest defensive box plus minuses ever in Big 12 history throughout his career. Best defender for best perimeter defender by that stat since Marcus Smart, by the way. So, quite good at defense and such. People would note that, his steal rate to close last season was deflated a bit. I would qualify that by saying he was coming back from injury. Clearly wasn't nearly as effective on that end of the court post-injury. So I think with the summer to recuperate, get back into, his mindset on that end of the court, I think he'll be fully recharged. I don't expect a downturn there. I took him over Arturo Dean, the master of steals at Oklahoma State. Dean just doesn't play as much as I would like. He has been racking up steals left and right since he was at FIU. Generally always has like the highest steal percentage in the sport. If not, if he's not there, he's always top 5. but it's never a guarantee the guy plays more than like 25 minutes a night.
Yep, he's a little bit of a negative offensively, and I mean, to your point with Lipsy, his aggressiveness went way down offensively as well. I think the injury really affected his game. His steal rate was 5%, basically top 10 in the country as a sophomore, and then last year it dropped to 3.7. His freshman year was 4.6. I think we see that tick back up with him being fully healthy, the guy as their on-ball defender. I think it's a really good call. I'm going to go with a biased pick. Not really biased, but it is my alma mater. Anthony Robinson at Missouri. His biggest flaw defensively is simply that he fouls too much for a guard. I think maybe that's part of why his steal rate is so high, is that he's reaching, he's handsy, he's causing issues both with the refs and with the opponent. But man, he gets his hands on everything. He's a great off-ball passing lane lurker. He's amazing when he's digging down on a driver or a post guy, and even on the ball. He can get his body in front of you. He's got long enough arms that he'll poke something away when you think you're by him. And this is a defense that plays strictly for pressure. They're not worried about getting defensive rebounds. They want to trap. They want to turn you over, get steals going the other way. It's generally a very high tempo team, so you get more possessions to potentially pick up steals. For Robinson, it comes down to the minutes. If he can get up around 30, and I know he was one of your breakout picks on the last episode, he could lead the country in steals, and that's why I rode with Mr. Robinson.
Tony was on my list here, along with Tayton Connerway of guys who I also
great
considered.
Call. Because we talked about a little with Indiana's defense, it's semi-concerning, and Connerway is going to wear a huge burden as the on-ball tone setter for them. I'm sure Darian DeVries will ask if he can guard all 5 positions. He's going to try. He's going to have to.
Tayton Connerway versus TKR in the post would be pretty fun.
If TKR has to dribble, it's over. I think he can take it from him. But if he can catch and turn and score, might be in trouble there, Mr. Connerway. Okay, mid-major shout out for me here is Mr. Dean of Charleston. Really disruptive defender at USC Upstate. Mega athlete. Problem is that he's going to a system that doesn't really try to force turnovers. Chris Mack, a very defensively conservative coach. Stay in your shell. Let's get defensive rebounds and force tough shots. Dean might transcend that because he's that good of an athlete. So a guy I just wanted to give a shout out to. Will, who else did you have as a potential mid-major name?
My man Jaquan Johnson at Bradley. Sky-high steal percentage last year, going to take on way more minutes this season. He had 47 steals last year, despite playing just 18 minutes a game. One of the highest steals per game rates in the MVC, or I think he was actually third in the MVC in steals, while, again, playing 18 minutes a game. So it doesn't take that much work to actually get on the top 10 list. Last year, you could get there by getting 82 steals in the season. Guys like Chucky Hepburn made it. BJ Edwards had 83. So it's not super, difficult, I guess I would say, to get up there. Other pick here, Javonte Campbell from Bowling Green. Not a school we necessarily think of as extremely great on the defensive end, but this is the guy who was 4th in steals in the entire country last year with 90. It's
a great pick. Todd Simon's defense also very turnover heavy, turnover centric, and Campbell is the head of the snake for that system. All right, let's move to blocks per game, which we had a little trouble with on our first iteration of this. I'm curious if this is one of the categories maybe you changed. I liked your first answer. Did you stick with it, Will, or who did you go with as your projected leader in blocks per game nationally?
I am going to alter my answer to a G5 guy and just swing for the fences here. Miles Rubin at Loyola.
Ooh.
85 blocks last season. One of the best, all around in blocks per game. Just amazing they got him back, honestly. I couldn't believe he couldn't go elsewhere. But the key for this for me is that he had all those blocks. So he had 85 last season. Do you know how many minutes per game he played?
It was around like 20, wasn't it? I don't think he played a ton.
24.
Wow, yeah.
24. And he was in the top 10 in blocks for the second year running. It's actually more impressive what he did his freshman year. 76 blocks despite playing just 18 minutes a game.
Okay, I think that might have been the year ahead in my head. Yeah.
This guy's just truly special in this regard. If he can get himself to, 28, 29 a game, 30 if we're lucky. I think there's a real chance that he not only cracks the 100 mark, but he's on the top of the leaderboard.
And he's not like a crazy foul guy, only 4.5 per 40. It's not like he's well above it. And honestly, I think a lot of those fouls are silly, illegal screens, like kind of stuff that
Yes.
it's not like he's hacking when he gets near the rim. He's just a great timing shot blocker. If he can cut out some of those little silly mistakes on the offensive end, it could increase his playing time. You see all the blocks in the future for him. We just did a three-man weave podcast where we were talking about the A10, and opponent shot sub 50% at the rim when Ruben was on the floor. Just an elite shot blocker. My pick is also G5, Will. I like that we both just kind of eschewed the Power 5. We said no thank you in this one. I went with Magoon Gwath at San Diego State. The anchor of Brian Dutcher defense typically gets a lot of block shots from Nathan Mensah back to Skylar Spencer, back to at least one or two guys before that. I think this defense is going to be amazing. We talked about it in our projected top 10 defenses episode, if anybody wants to go back and listen to that. And Gwath is going to be the heart and soul towards the rim. You know, Miles Bird's the pest on ball, but Gwath is a go-go gadget arm, like basically all limbs, but adding strength type of guy. And I think as he gets more familiar with the speed of the game and adds strength, you're going to get bigger minutes out of him, and Dutcher's going to lean on him in the paint. Top 5 block rate last year in the country. I see it happening for Magoon Gwath, a guy that redshirted because he was such a project, and then they tried to get him on the floor a lot last year, and I think the minutes tick even further upward this year with his shot blocking potential.
I see a lot of all caps Gwath tweets in our future. Just that word and nothing else.
Yeah, or goon, although that one probably, maybe we stick to Gwath.
I think the connotation around that has outlawed it.
Yes.
It doesn't even seem like Arsenal says it much anymore.
Yeah, fair enough.
Goodersaurus has been banned from the grounds.
It's sad. It's sad to see, really. But yes, two great options there. Anybody else you wanted to shout out? I know your P5 answer that you mentioned on the other recording is probably worth a shout.
Yeah, P5s wise, there are a couple that I just don't know about the minutes. I think that they can get a lot of blocks while they're on the court. I just don't know how many minutes they play. Mustafa Tiam transferring from UCF to Cincinnati. Cincinnati's defense is going to be awesome. We had them as borderline top 10, I think, in our defense pod, at least in the shout-outs range. I don't think he's going to be asked to do quite as much cleanup work, though, as he was at UCF. UCF's perimeter defense sucked. And as always, I do worry about the minutes transfer here. JoJo Tugler, sort of the same thing. Unbelievable. Possibly, when I take it all into account, maybe the best pure athlete just by like leaping ability and go-go gadget arms, all of that I've seen in basketball in a minute. I still remain, unsold on his offensive potential, but like defensive specialist wise, he's got a future at the next level. And then the third here, he doesn't block as many shots as you would think. He was 39th in block percentage last year in the sport. But when he does block them, they're really violent. Felix Okpara from Tennessee. I think that I kind of fell into the mistake of thinking he had blocked more, just because when he does block them, you remember them. But again, not a guy that has to clean up as much as you would think.
Yeah, he's part of a great defensive structure at Tennessee. And for those tracking at home, that is, yes, Jim said a Mizzou player, Will said a Tennessee player. That's you put that on your bingo card. We were able to knock that out here on this episode of Stats. That's great to see. My quick mid-major shout out is to Matt Van Komen at Marshall. Marshall had a top 3 in the country block guy with Obina Anochili Killen. This is why we call him Professor Oak, O-A-K, at the Weave. Top shot blocker at Marshall. They play fast. And now they bring in a 7'4" guy from Elon who is way up there in block rate. It's just kind of what you said. How many minutes is he going to play? Is he going to be able to handle the speed of that system? That's my concern. But we definitely know Marshall's defense can sustain a big-time shot blocker. So, Mr. Van Komen, a little hat tip to you. Also, a great mustache, like all-time capital G great mustache on Mr. Van Komen. All right, let's go to category number 6. 3-pointers made. We had a little fun with this one on the first record. I think we're going to continue to do that here on version 2.0. Well, who was your first choice? It was somebody that you had texted to me that I wanted to go with, but you were ahead of the game on me there.
Well, I'm going to get his school right this time. It's Isaac McNeely of Louisville.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I.
That's
It's
really
an
why we
easy plug and play.
re-recorded, so that you didn't say
Yeah,
Virginia.
because I fucked up the name. Corey, edit that out. Yeah, Isaac McNeely. Um, you can just plug and play him actually as like a superior version in the Rain Smith role from last year. I think we loved Rain Smith. He's a really fun player, was awesome at Charleston, did really well at Louisville last year, could get hot like no one's business, but McNeely's better. I think just straight up he is.
Yes.
I don't think it's like a real competition. There is a serious chance. So one, McNeely takes, let's just say that he shoots 41% from three. So that's 300 times, 41%. That's 123 made threes in the season next year. Then that could be an undershot at only 300 attempts. If Louisville plays deep into March, he could touch 340, 350 attempts. You still shoot 40% on that. That's pretty darn good. So I think he's a clear top pick here.
Yeah, he was 23rd in the country in 3-pointers made per game last year, and that was playing at Virginia's pace, never getting to take transition threes. And now you go to Pat Kelsey's system, which is, hey, let's run. Let's fire away. Rain Smith, whenever you can see the rim, if you can squint and make it out, fire the ball up. And McNeely's going to have that kind of a green light. For fun, Will, my pick is in the same system, the same team, Ryan Conwell. I think he's going to get his shots up as well. You mentioned stats per 40 or per 100 possessions. McNeely took about 14 per 100. Conwell was at 12 and a half. So right up in that vicinity. I think there's a chance he plays a little bit more because he's well-rounded, but there's a very real chance Louisville has two guys that make 100 threes, which that sounds really fun to me. I want to cheer for that team. Enjoy the season, Louisville fans, because you also have Mikel Brown Jr., a big-time gunner. Adrian Woolley can knock down threes, big-bodied up transfer from the mid-major ranks. It's going to be a monsoon of triples in Louisville games. Just the fact that we can even consider picking two Louisville guys here, that tells you how good that system should be for shooters. And they've got two of the best in McNeely and Conwell.
I'm very excited for them. Does League Pass still do the thing where you can buy like 5 teams or whatever?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay, I haven't bought League Pass in a long time. They would be one of my 5 for sure.
Yep, I think that's totally reasonable. They're going to be up and down, and even like they're big men. Like I want to see Sananda Frew play, and Kason Pryor does some weird things sometimes.
I will divert very quickly for an Unk moment here. So, not to encourage people to go outside of the bounds of normal viewing experiences for games, but thanks to a recent effort by, I believe, the FBI, I did finally break down and buy Sunday Ticket this year. I've just aged out of like trying to figure out what the new streaming site is.
Yeah, you didn't want to go to Crack Streams, which I think is what it's called.
Yeah, well, there are 2 others that I found, and I just like cannot say the titles on this show.
Yeah.
I've just aged out of like doing that. But Louisville, thankfully, is on all legal networks that I already subscribe to, so won't have to go out of my bounds. Just please don't sign up for Flow Sports.
Yeah, don't do that.
That's beyond my expertise.
That's like right below being sponsored by Home Field. We are anti-sponsored by Flow Sports. That's that's where we're at. We have promo codes for not signing
If Flow Sports ever sponsored a NASCAR team, mortal enemies.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, so those are our 2 top choices. Josh Hubbard, somebody definitely got to mention. My mid-major contribution is Davion Bailey, who was way up there last year for Incarnate Word. He fires away and lost his perimeter sidekick in Jalen Anderson. So I think he's going to be up there. Any other names, Will, that you want to make sure get a little love?
Yeah, Hubbard for sure. Lamar Wilkerson in Indiana, I think could function in the Chaz Lanier role a bit for them. Maybe not quite as effective because I think Tennessee just had more talent than Indiana is going to have, but it's totally plausible to me. And then Tyler Lundblade at Belmont, we talked about last time. I think 49% from 3 last year, led the nation in 3-point percentage, actually. Career 94% free throw shooter in college. Belmont system takes a ton of threes. He's going to be in that sort of like, not to cross compare here, but the Jack Gulkey role for Belmont. And I think he's a guy that you give him 300 attempts. If he hits 130, that's within the range of outcomes. He could be at the top of the leaderboard at year's end.
Yeah, I hope Casey Alexander is just begging him to take more. Like, I don't care if you don't shoot 49% again. It helps us when you launch them. The defense panics. They got to track you off screens, transition, just get them up. It opens up some of their quick post ups and stuff in that offense. So yeah, Lundblad, just an immortal shooter based on all those numbers you listed. I hope he gets more shots up this year because he can knock them down.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we move to our final category, free throws attempted, which last year the honor went to Aniwa Tate Jones of UC San Diego. The year before, Zach Edey lapped the field, which will surprise nobody. I believe he shot over 100 more than second place. Will, who did you go with for the potential leader in free throws attempted this coming season?
I did try and troll through the MEAC to see if there's any good options there, just because the MEAC calls a billion fouls. But I'm kind of defaulting back to my original answer here, which is PJ Haggerty. Not as high in fouls drawn per 40 as he has been in the past, but I think top 5 in free throws attempted last year. Actually, no, number 2 overall in free throws attempted. I did mention, I do kind of question if the foul baiting works quite as well in the Big 12 as it did with American refs. But that being said, there is a pretty decent crossover, actually, of Big 12 and American officials. They run through roughly the same pod, and it makes sense geographically. So like we mentioned, you don't pay a player $4 million if you're not willing to run most of what you've got through him. He's going to be their late clock bailout guy. He's going to be the downhill driver. I think it is plausible that he runs back a same number of 274 last year and is a decent threat for 300.
Yeah, I think he took 300 his freshman year with that higher foul drawing rate. And he's ranked second in the country in free throws attempted for 2 straight years. So fell just short of Tate Jones, fell a lot short of Edey because Edey was a otherworldly creature. But Haggerty is a great answer here. I think it's close to Braden Smith in assists in terms of that's probably the right answer for this category. A quick shout out to the MEAC. Well, you mentioned the amount of fouls called there. In free throw rate in all conferences, past 5 years, they have been first, second. So if you want a foul free throw show, tune into some MEAC basketball.
That is a physical ass league, and I do love it.
Yes.
I appreciate that we still have conferences in the sport that truly play their own style.
Yeah, it's great. It's brilliant. You can gravitate to one conference or the other, and that makes it beautiful. That's why I love college hoops, because of the nuance and the heterogeneity of styles rather than homogenization.
That's a big word, my friend.
Hey, I might not have even used it right, so we're going to find out.
That's okay. I'm an English major, and I screw words up all the time.
Beautiful. I love to hear it. Okay, my answer for this is Austin Benini of Navy. I couldn't find anybody in the P5 that I wanted to go with, but he was top 25 in fouls drawn last year. He plays a ton of minutes. He's kind of their only offense. They've got some other like shooters, I guess, but Benini's got the ball in his hands all the time. They let him bomb down the lane and draw as much contact as possible in the league that isn't overly athletic at the rim. That's my nice way of describing the Patriot. So he's got a chance to draw that contact. He took some massive free throw totals late in the season, which I think drew some eyes in the Patriot League tournament. First 2 games, he took 16 and then 22 in those 2 games. So 38 in 2 games. That tells you what he can get up to in the right context. And the last little nugget for him is that Navy's Ed DeChellis retired. And though he was playing a little faster towards the end of his career, I could see his successor, a younger John Perry, who coached under DeChellis a little bit, speeding it up even more, letting his big-time point guard go in transition, and that could amp up the free throw total a little bit as well. So I went off the radar, the midshipmen, the sea troops, as I affectionately call them on all of our gambling shows. Will, anybody else for you in the free throws attempted category?
A couple of minor shout-outs. I think TKR is going to have a chance to rack up a bunch of attempts this year. The bummer here is that a lot of my mid-major picks transferred up. And so I don't think that they're going to play as much. Like Drayton Jones at South Carolina State was number 2 in the country in fouls drawn per 40 last year. now at Butler. I don't know how much he's going to play there. I believe Keatron Shaw from Maryland Eastern Shore transferred out as well. Dylan Darling at Idaho State had a huge free throw rate last season. Now at St. John's, I know he's got some defenders, but I think we're both in alignment that he'll probably play off the bench. The only other one that I would have maybe considered here is Dr. Bradley, if he plays at Bethune-Cookman. And I think that you and I have roughly as good of a shot at playing all 31 games for any college team this year as Dr. Bradley does.
Yeah, that's a great point. He led the country in fouls drawn per 40, but if he's not out there all the time because of, let's just say, some of the off-court things that may or may not have followed him over his career, yeah, that could be tough to just lead the country in attempts, given that you need a lot of games to rack up attempts.
Mm-hmm.
All right, that's it. Well, that's all we got here. I think that is a wonderful bow to tie on our second iteration of this episode. Again, if it was not good, that just means we're bad at this. So, folks, you can complain at all you want.
We'll try a third time.
Yeah, a third time's going to be the charm. We'll try it on Monday morning or something. We do plan to be back at the normal time next week. Will has had a brutal week of work. I have been traveling in Florida visiting family. So we're making it happen for you folks with a second recording of the week. Hopefully we can get this posted as soon as possible and get the listens headed into the weekend. But we appreciate you tuning in. Will, any last words for the folks?
No, when you listen to this, have a great weekend. If it's the weekend when you're listening to this, enjoy your weekend.
And yes, exactly. Soak it all in. Summer's kind of coming to a close. We get some fall weekends coming up here. It's exciting stuff, but we'll be back with another great topic next week. We'll let you know what that is soonish. Thank you to Trilly, our overlord behind the scenes, Corey, our producer, Homefield, our sponsor. And of course, folks, join Basket Under Review, pay the $10 a month, get in the Discord, get all the great written content. Cannot encourage it strongly enough if you are a ball knower or a potential ball knower. So that is it. That wraps it up for us at Stats by Will and Jim. We will see you next week.